argue that they're addicted, and the science would prove this out, and they'll see it in the Master Key course, not just for networkers, but in any business. They're physically addicted to being fearful victims rather than answering what we like to call the call. And I think it's appropriate, if it's okay with you, to talk a little bit about Joseph Campbell, because I think that's what you're describing. Well, Joseph Campbell was the difference maker in our networking business. I didn't like the way people were approached. By the way, I watched a little video of you showing people how to give your great little book here of big value for your career, the distinction between giving it to a waitress and a dentist. I thought that was just wonderful, just common sense. And, it's easy. And when people hear you, as I was hearing it, I knew what you were going to say next because it's natural and it's organic and it's just common sense. The question is, how do we get there? Do we get there by getting a paycheck, a bigger paycheck, or a PIN level? The answer is absolutely not. Because let me tell you, one of the flaws of network marketing companies and direct sales in general and life in general is they keep moving the goalpost. What does that mean? Well, you hit silver. Well, when are you going to hit gold? And when you hit gold, you'll be happy. Hit gold. When are you going to hit platinum? And when you hit platinum, that's great. You should feel good. When are you going to hit diamond? And then there's 11 different degrees of diamond. If happiness is on the other side of the goalpost and they keep moving the goalpost, you're never going to be happy. You need to be happy now. You need to understand that you're sitting on a gold mine and you are golden, and you don't even need any tools to get it. You just need to show up as the hero that you were intended to be. So Joseph Campbell changed everything. We changed our approach, but Joseph Campbell was a scholar, not a network marketer for sure. And anyway, he wrote a book, and he's been known for the hero's journey. And what Campbell became fascinated when he was a boy about the Native American, and that led into a fascination, and he found his bliss with studying cultures all over the world. Richard, 4,000 years of studying myths that were central to a culture's development. In other words, what the shaman or the wisdom would share. And, and we probably Kung Fu is one of those, he's having the conversations and the shaman is sharing the lessons with him in the form of questions. So in the hero's journey, what Campbell noticed was every single one of these, whether they were about farming tribes in South America or herding tribes in Asia, these myths were virtually identical. Protagonist and antagonist different? Absolutely. But the reality is the core was exactly the same. And it's when someone matures and leaves the social reactive life, they get heralded, they get called, and they are in essence, quote unquote, and it wasn't written about in the Bible for the first time, they're born again. In other words, they reclaim this wonderful dynamic spirit that they are. They walk away from the nonsense, from the world's idea of what makes them successful, and they decide for themselves. And so if you're listening to this call, if you're plugged into network marketing, what's really nice is, sadly, about 10 to 20% of the people in the world are not genetically predisposed to want to improve. You are. And what you really hear, you are. You wouldn't be on this call if you weren't. You'd be watching reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond, right? What we need to know about Campbell is he pointed out to us that Americans and worldwide, in the world in general, as a matter of fact, spend billions of dollars a year on movies and books and entertainment. And what are they doing? They're trying to live vicariously through their heroes. The hero in the movie, the hero at the ballpark or whatever. And this is kind of sad. But you've been called. If you're on this call, you've been called to do something great. And network, and this is when we cross from the life we know, the conditioning that we've had. I talked about it earlier with little boys, girls, and little girls do. You better follow the rules and all that. And it's not that we want to become a contrarian to what's going to be socially acceptable, but we no longer draw our value on what other people think and fundamentally decide, this is who I am, this is what I want my life to say. This is how I want to help affect other people and help them affect other people's lives. And what a great vehicle network marketing is for that. But the bottom line is, it's about understanding that you step from the life you know into the unknown. And when I first started to study Campbell back in the 90s, I said to Nadine, I just found out why network marketing works, and I just found out how to work better. She said, what do you mean? I said, we're talking to people on their job, to have a job or whatever, and we're asking them to step into the unknown. And we've got to encourage them that it's going to be okay by showing them what to do. We've got to help them understand that they can have more and not pay their credit card debt off or this or that, but something big in their life, something important, something they really treasure. And that's when networking got easy for us, Richard. And then the money flowed after that, and every place we went, it flowed easier and easier. I mean, at one time we were collecting decent-sized checks from 5 different companies because it was easy, exactly what you said. And just like yourself, I couldn't believe that information was there all the time. Every story that everybody has ever heard that's listening to this call, every scripture story, every movie they've ever seen, every book that's ever been written at its very core has exactly the same story. Our hero, usually reluctant, is called, or heralded, if you will, to do something greater and must step into the unknown. Now, for some people that's scary, but let me throw a little Chopra at you here. There is no wisdom in what you know. If you want your life to improve, you don't have to get some big statement, if you want things you've never had, you've got to do things you've never done. It doesn't have to be that big. You just have to embrace the idea that nothing is going to change as long as we stay with what we know. And I want to encourage people to plug into these calls, to listen for what isn't said. Listen to the conviction in their voice. Are they pitching you something, or are they convicted about where they're at? Really distinguish, because inside you is a BS meter, and you know what it is, and it's really easy. Do they herald you? Do they speak to your heart? Even if it's what they're talking about doesn't have anything to do with you, you can tell when somebody's done what Richard's done, which is found his purpose. When they find their purpose, everything does get easy, and the things that other people think are hard, they're just like, they're nothing. It's nothing to it. It's nothing to it. The lines collapsing, distributors, betrayals, it's no big deal. It's all part of the adventure. It's fantastic because you know that you know that you know that you're already successful, like Simon, like Margie, like Matt, like Richard. They already know, and it isn't because of what they did. It's because of who they became, which isn't changing into somebody else, but regenerating that dynamic, love-driven, service, missionary spirit that's in all of us. And what Campbell found in his study, this is fantastic, is that the one thing that people are seeking out of life is an authentic connection to another human being. And I realized that was true about me too. And we cannot have that authentic, real, genuine connection, okay, until we find our authentic self, which is a lot more than what the government, the schools, and the financial institutions and the advertisers want you to believe, that are going to play on your fear and on your unworthiness. I don't have to buy that nonsense anymore. Believe in yourself by discovering and answering the call to the hero within. Does that make sense, Richard?
It makes sense that if I had an hour commute every day, I would listen to your message all the way to work and all the way home. And I would imagine in 30 days, I'd be manifesting an entirely different life. You orate it beautifully, Mark. You're incredibly well read, and one of the things that I can sense about you is, you're not necessarily one of these people that entertains themselves or edifies themselves by reading a book a week, but you've grabbed some books that are meaningful and moved you, and you've mastered them. And I just believe wholeheartedly in, gosh, if you just mastered 5 books in your whole life so that you could stand up and teach them for an hour or two without any notes, your life would transform. And you've got tremendous mastery.